Good morning.
Morning, Winston.
I hope you're doing very well this morning.
God has been good. I'm well.
We thank God.
Yeah.
A lot of people were, sending messages and said, "How is he doing? How is he doing?" When I said you're going to be joining us, they asked the question following the loss of the elections. Did you see this coming?
Well, let me say good morning to those who found time to listen to us this morning and also on the social media platforms. I didn't see it coming. I mean, to be very blunt, I didn't see it coming at all. Of course, I mean, you go on rounds and you hear some sentiments that is suggestive of people's lack of desire to participate in the electoral process. And you engage them, you speak to them, and then they say, our akamati motto. And then on the day of the election, you are confronted with a level of apathy which has never been seen in our political history. And so, even though I didn't see it coming, I'm always prepared for whatever outcome. And so I moved on that very night, because it was what the people had said. They spoke in loud and clear. I dropped about 6,000 and change votes from 2020. And my opponent was a new candidate, but NDC increased by about 3,000. And so what it meant was that a lot more people who had voted for me in 2020 had just simply not turned up to vote. And so I don't know whether to say it's painful, but I guess that in public service is what it is. I mean, you come in, you serve, people take a decision, and you accept it, and you move on. So,
talking about the apathy, and when you go around, people have concerns. What were those concerns? Why did the people not want to vote when you went around?
It was multiple. I mean, people voted because their roads had not been done. They just decided to stay away. Especially in the Kwikuma area, where you would typically have NPP people. I mean, they vote NPP massively. Except, of course, the Kwikuma Zongo area, which, typically we lose there. But this time around, when the votes started coming in, you saw that the numbers, even though I was winning some police stations, it was very, very minimal. Nkutumpo was just unbelievable. That's what you describe as the stronghold of the MPP in Second D.
Yeah.
People had just not gone out to vote. And there, the sense I got when I was doing the house to house was, and people were saying stuff like, watch a one's own in beer. So then that goes to the delegate system and the kinds of benefits that they seem to be getting vis-a-vis the general voting populace and what they think they don't get from the vote.
So first you say the people said, we voted, you haven't done anything. And then we voted, you're sharing.
Well, we voted and we haven't gotten anything.
Oh, Yenyashi. Okay. So what were they?
Because in Kutumpo we had done quite a bit. Their roads had all been done. Their need, when we did the needs assessment for the 1 million per constituency projects, was some community center where they would hold their events, and that had been done. And so it wasn't a question of what
infrastructure.
Yes.
Okay. So what were they looking for?
That's why I said that it goes to the delegate system. They see the party people get some things at Christmas, and they came up. They see party people get stuff during the primaries, and
so what do you give to the party people at primaries and during Christmas?
So you respond by saying that, well, these folks who've left everything that they're doing and going around with you. It really is not too much to give them a bag of rice and some cooking oil and provisions, if you like, for Christmas. And then they say, oh, then it dawns on them and they kind of appreciate that. Well, that's not too bad, you know. But of course, we live in compound houses, mainly in secondary, especially in some localities, and the primaries, the amount of monies that people get for transport, especially when there's contest. There's not for me to come and sit here and pretend as if, you know, as some ostrich who it can be, you know. We've allowed our delegate system to evolve to become, if you like, lucrative for delegates, because they tend to take the decision and they vote both at the presidential and the parliamentary level as well. And so you get a sense that people feel that, hey, we all vote for you during general elections. So how is it that when you're sharing your stuff, you give it to only the small group of people who are seen to be party people, and so go and call them to go and vote for you? We're not going to stand in the sun, you know, queue and vote for you, and when you go and get your stuff, you give it to your party. So that was a reason. Of course, the economy in itself, nobody can run away from the cost of living issues that, you know, is essentially global, but of course everybody is looking at his own reality. Nobody cares about what's happening in other countries, other parts of the world. They just want to see what it is that my government is doing to make my life a little bit more easier.
Because the reality is we don't live in another country.
Yeah,
we
precisely.
live in Ghana. So
Precisely.
when the Forex
I get
is
it.
staring you in the face and it's affecting your business because you're doing a lot of imports.
Not a doubt. But then again, if global supply chain disruptions occur as a result of a certain war, which increases freight cost, right? It would, and especially when you are an import-dependent economy to a very large extent, then you would expect that that cost would translate to increases of goods on the market. That is the reality. But then again, I probably we didn't carry the people along sufficiently enough. And you look across the world and you see, only last week, Germany, the chancellor suffered a vote of no confidence. All incumbent governments are suffering across the world. But you are in Ghana and it is your responsibility. And I guess that the MPP clearly has heard the Ghanaian. There's a lot of introspection that has to take place. There's a lot of reflection. There's a lot of stock taking and a lot of regrouping to do to see what it is that 2028 will hold for us. But I guess that the global economy, which largely influenced what it is that transpired here, was also a key factor in people just deciding not to vote, because you have a party that the expectation, okay, of the Ghanaian or of the MPP, I think is really high. And so
well, you went to come and fix the economy,
yeah, of
for
course.
instance. I mean, that was what you largely campaigned on. So
of course.
if the economy
But-
is not
but you
going
see-
the way that you campaign it was going to go,
Probably, I agree. And your commitment, your promises, your vision can only be achieved when, in the language of my economist friends, they will say ceteris paribus, right? All things being equal. And so if you have a dual problem that you inherit in the energy and then the banking sector, which you don't have any option in terms of your own internal resources to resolve, you would rely on debt. It's not an excuse, but that's the fact, okay? And so that would impact your ability to fix the problems, deal with the economy.
So are we blaming the issue of the economy on external factors only?
Well, these two issues that I mentioned are internal. The energy and the banking was certainly
the banking,
internal.
you did the cleanup. You
based
didn't
on,
inherit
based on,
the cleanup.
based on the recommendation that had come following the asset quality test that had been done by the IMF and the central bank itself. And question is, was it necessary? Was it avoidable? Could government elect not to do it? Certainly not. You needed to clean it because the consequences of not doing it, I don't know, but certainly would have been, I suppose, worse than if you hadn't done anything about it at all. But that's the reality. I'm saying that. So in that sense, you can't say that all things were equal to then allow government to do all the things that it had intended to do. It will be impacted some way, somehow. But so I've been having conversations with some friends of mine who say that, look, they believe that even though we articulated the issues, we probably didn't carry the Ghanaian along sufficiently enough, like His Excellency the President did during the COVID period, for example. And I don't know. It's not a straitjacket situation where you can say that this is it or that's it. So some work has to be done. The party is already preparing to do that work, and then at the end of the day, we'll see really where to sit with the issues and how we then engage the Ghanaian again to build the confidence and look to see if they will give us a mandate again
So
as
do
a
you
party
agree
going forward.
that people voted based on how they felt in their pocket?
Or it will be one of the reasons, certainly. Why not? That's why I said multiple, okay? And I gave you an instance of people voting purely because their roads haven't been done. You start construction in 2019. You go into the election, immediately after the election, construction halts. And then in 2024, you restart. They will think you're taking them for granted.
Okay. Is that what you were doing?
Oh yeah, no. Well, it wasn't what I was doing, but so there was a road contract that had been awarded for some where escapes me, arterial roads or something like that within Secondary. Okay, so spanning all the way from the WAEC enclave, across the railway station, through Kokumpe, Bakechiri, Paris Square, Adiembra, and Kwikuma. The contractor had done all the way. WAEC area, he had done the Kokumpe enclave, he had done refreshing hour. I'm saying this because I know both of you know where, except Kwikuma. And so when we're getting close to the election and you, of course, all throughout the period you engaging the contractor and he tells you that I've raised certificates, have not been paid, and close to the election you let him know the dire situation that you find yourself in, because you go around and people complain that, hey, MP Roti, you came to start this thing a long time ago, why is that? So he makes an effort to go back to site, and they say it that, so you wait till election before you re-engage,
But it's not your job as
yeah,
MP.
that's the problem, because you are elected representative, and so many a time I hear people say, "Oh, you go and promise, you go and promise, you go and promise." But that's the nature of our governance architecture. Unlike in other places where there are mayors and people who are directly involved in development activity are elected. In our part of the world,
support chief executive.
yeah, but they don't see him as their rep. They see you. They come to you. They everything that they want, it's MP. They don't know about the mayor. They don't know about the chief executive. And so you have to find a way to help in ensuring that the constituents' needs are met. And so you find yourself having to go to Ministry of Finance and chase the officials, go there with contractors, to try and see how you can facilitate their payments for them so they go back. So, I mean, until that structure really, changes, MPs won't be left, to focus on lawmaking, which is their primary, function. They would be required. In fact, the constituents demand. It's not really a question of you go and promise. Of course, you go into an election, they have needs. They will ask you that, hey, how do you help us resolve some of these problems? You have to commit to do them. And amongst several other things. I mean, for secondary specific, the NDC propaganda was strong, very strong, and people.
When you say NDC propaganda,
people.
What do you mean?
People are not savvy sufficiently, or at least some people are not sufficiently savvy to distinguish between the term when you've always had an MPP MP and an NDC president, and the term when you had an MPP MP and an NDC president, right? Because during the 28 years or so that MPP has had an MP in second D, and they go around saying that we voted for them for 28 years, what have they done for you? Right? Of course, they are. During that period, the NDC executive presidency was the government. And so whatever it is that the MP could do was dependent on relationships, ability to get the government to do things in the constituency. Right? But like I said, they push the narrative. You voted for MPP for 28 years. What have they done? But during the 28 years, Professor Mills or Mr. Rawlings was president. Professor Mills became president. Mr. Mahama became president. And they did nothing in second D. Of course, during that time, Papa Uzankuma was MP. Okay? And so that distinction in itself, a lot of people could not, and so...
Is that not also maybe a failure from your part? Were you able to also prove to them, give them this narrative?
You see, when
to counter what was being said.
That's why I said you push back, okay, but then it's already sat in people's minds and that's what they see, that the MP is the face, not the president, though.
But you've been MP 2 terms.
Yes.
Under an MPP government.
Yes. That's why Efiam Kwanta Regional Hospital is being redeveloped. That's why many roads have been done. That's why many projects have been done in the constituency. Okay.
And yet the people didn't feel this was enough.
So they see secondary market in a certain deteriorated state. Yeah, we all see it. I mean, I'm not happy with the way our market is. It was captured in the medium-term framework 2022-2024. But then your finances does not allow you to borrow, because every project that government funds in this country, almost 90% of it is through debt. So if you're unable to go to market to raise the funding to do it, you would explain, you will show them the document, but all they want is the market.
Because around the same time, they see market cycle being reconstructed.
Yeah, which are stalled because of the problems with debt situation and the renegotiations that we're doing. They see it. They see the PTC interchange stalled. But if you're Kwanta Regional Hospital, of course, teaching hospital now, because they're building a new regional hospital, is ongoing. So it's a multiplicity of reasons. You get what I mean? And I don't think that anybody can identify one specific issue as reason for the election outcome of 2024.
And this morning we're joined by a member of Parliament for Sekondi and Egyapa, Mercer, and he's also Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture. He lost in the 2024 election. We're trying to understand what could have, led to the loss. You've talked about, people asking questions. What have they gotten? People have also complained about the economy and other things. Something I felt you took them for, granted. But yes, Mama, you want to make the other
Yeah, there's the question of, did you promise the people development? And this is coming on the back of the expectations. So did you promise them development?
But every candidate will promise development. Show me one candidate that you know who goes on a campaign trail, especially within the construct that I've already described, that says, "I vote for me to go and make laws in Accra for you." There are local problems that they want solutions.
So they were right in expecting the solutions from you then, even though technically we know that it's not your responsibility as Member of Parliament.
I mean, look, to some extent, yes. Because MPU can leverage on your lobby power to get some things to your constituency. And we do. Okay. So, for example, the redevelopment of Sekondi market, which is very key. I hope that the NDC will be able to find the resources to do it for the good people of Sekondi, because they deserve it. But, like I said, within the financial constraints that we found ourselves, even though government had programmed to do it, we just couldn't do it within that time frame. What it means is that you needed to communicate to people to appreciate where it is that we are, and going forward see what it is that, if the circumstances change, then it can be brought back onto the front burner for it to be dealt with. But then, like I said, I mean, and I take responsibility. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's because of somebody's propaganda and all that and the kinds of things that they said. And no, you are responsible. You are leading the campaign in the constituency. You need to marshal all that you can, including communicating, to ensure that people buy into your message. And if you're unable to do it, you failed.
When you assess your campaign, do you think you could have campaigned differently? Do you think your strategy didn't work in this election?
So, yeah, there's always hindsight, right? And so you can say that some things could have been done differently. My house-to-house campaign, for example, did not start early enough because I had other assignments that I needed to execute, and so that could be a factor, because I couldn't cover, unlike in previous elections, especially in 2016 and even in 2022 to some extent, where we covered almost every home in Sekondi. This year, because of time, you couldn't do all of it, and so there are people who just decide that you didn't come to me, so I'm not going to vote. You see, that's also will play a part. And personally, there were a lot of things that I did that over the period I never publicized it, because I didn't think that it was necessary. So people come to you for help, and then you go about announcing it for everybody to hear that. Oh, this I didn't think it was right. But then became my nemesis of sorts, because people were then going around and say, "Hey, MP Onyeri, Omobia, Onye this." So you get what I mean. I support a lot of women and school children. I mean students. So then I have to begin to make some of the things that I do public. And so you go around in Sekondi and you see billboards with projects that have been done, and in fact, people called me, including some respected priest that I know in Sekondi, called me. So we see that you've done a lot of things, and it's good that you put it out in that way. So listening to you very recently, I think I chanced on a YouTube tape, you, Evans, and
Raymond?
No, Samson.
Okay.
I think it was the night of the election when you were doing your analysis, and you mentioned the grants that I did and all that. Because I do it all the time, I just don't put it out. But this year, because my opponent had started doing some interest-free loan and it was catching, I had to let people know that, well, the MP also does these things for people, and so, but it's water under the bridge. You can only speak to it in terms of assessing what it is that, if in the future either yourself or somebody else that is embarking on a political campaign, then you can bring these experiences to bear to support the person. Or
let me take you to the larger metropolis. I'll come back to the way forward for you. I know that's something we cannot end this interview without asking, but I mean, Escado Ketan, Jogate, after 5 terms, was stepping down. Charles Bisu took over and lost. You go to, Shama, part of the old Saima, Shama and Afo, who's like a godfather in that constituency, after he defeated Abaka in the primaries, lost. Mm-hmm. You go to Kwesimintin, and Prince Ama loses. In fact, in Efia and Takrade, it was close, particularly in Takrade, very close in Takrade. What went wrong for the NPP in these areas?
Listen, I guess that I've tried as much as possible to limit myself to second D, and to take responsibility for the outcome there. But the truth of the matter is that there was a general wave across the country. I'm not so sure about whether it was a wind of change. I'm not so sure. But rather a wind of disappointment, if you like. People just decided not to go and vote for the MPP. For varied reasons, which I'm sure the party will delve into in detail to try and identify what really the causes are, and to find ways to deal with them. And that wave is what affected most of the constituencies that you mentioned. Shama, the expectation was that Afo was going to win. He's been the chief executive chair of the Lower Pra Rural Bank, which has impacted Shama and its environs in many positive ways. But then he lost to, I believe, a former MP.
Former DC. Emilia has been contesting since
She's been contesting.
2004.
She never won.
She never won, yeah.
Escado Ketan, typically you expect that if new face comes in, especially with the performance of my big brother Joe in the last election, the expectation was that Charles Bisu was going to be able to energize the base, because Escado Ketan is an MPP to the core. But if you look at the numbers, it tells you that people just didn't vote. The talk that these registers were bloated in the past, for me, is neither here nor there. It's just mere propaganda talk. But the truth is, people did not vote in protest.
At what point in the campaign did you realize that there was going to be the wave, as you describe it?
Well, it was the day of the election. I didn't think that it was national. I thought it was only second D. Because people were just not at police stations. I voted around 9 o'clock, and immediately thereafter I started going from police station to police station. People were just not there. There were no queues. I mean, I've voted in every election since 1992. There were no queues.
And you didn't get any hints a day before, not even a day before that,
Not at all.
that was going to happen.
Not at all.
But you would have known that in every incumbent second term election, I mean, so when you're going into your third term, when you're seeking to get a third term, there's always a low voter turnout and the incumbent loses. We had said it consistently that anytime there's a low voter turnout, one of the things we're looking for was the turnout, because we knew there's going to be a low voter turnout.
I get it, but not on this scale. In any event, look, I printed almost 30,000 t-shirts. The clamor for party paraphernalia, the attendance at events that we organized.
Some say you bashed these people.
I didn't bash anybody.
Your boys may have done it for you.
Nobody did. Please, nobody did. I'm not saying that if we're holding events in Second D, for example, people in the schedule, when they hear, some don't come. But they will come on their own accord. They were huge numbers. We go on our health walks and you see the people, the excitement. I go to Second Market to do, a walkthrough and greet the women, and we're giving paraphernalia. They're fighting over it.
Maybe they were excited because they wanted a change.
Change from myself to myself, or from myself to somebody else.
To somebody else.
And they were excited that they had seen me come within their midst to do a walkthrough.
Otherwise, how would we explain it?
I don't know. Well, I would have thought that if my opponent generated that kind of excitement, then you'll be right in saying that they wanted change.
Because not going out.
But then again, you see, maybe this decision, right, is mainly individual. People sit and say, I won't vote. But the outcome looks like there was some grand conspiracy against the MPP. But what I'm saying that it was a protest is because it's not like people went out there to vote massively for Mr. Mahama. His votes from 2020 and 2024 is largely flat. But NDC supporters were motivated.
Well, NDC, okay.
They were motivated to go out and vote.
So,
they wanted power.
So are you saying
they
that
could smell it?
All the people who did not go out there to vote were MPP people?
So there are people who are MPP, and those who are, if you like, floating, but who would prefer anybody but Mr. Mahama because of his track record, and so they probably would decide not to go and vote as well. But I think that if the data from 2020, 2016 is anything to go by, I can safely conclude that a greater majority of the people who did not turn out to vote are traditional MPP voters who just did not go to the polls to go and vote.
I see. So what's next for you?
This question, you want me to answer in principle or on principle, or on
both
on the corporate interest?
Answer on principle first.
So my own principle is that if you lose an election, you are done. Yeah, you just have to move on.
So on principle, on principle you don't want to come back.
Yes, on principle, I mean, but then the corporate interest also plays a factor. Already, anytime I make this statement, people call me, don't grant interviews and say that you're not going to go contest again. And but that's just me and how I feel.
But is it true that you wanted to do 3 terms?
I felt that yes, 3 terms was good enough to leave a mark, both in Parliament, which I believe that even in the 2 terms I did my bit, and also in the constituency, because certainly in 2028, if Yankwanta should be done, and my legacy that I can point to, that it was during my time that I lobbied for. It's not going to go away anyway, but it's not a complete facility. I'm sure that we would have been able to get government to find the resources to do the market, for example. It would have been a huge legacy for me. You know, I went to Addis Ababa, right?
Yes.
Others labor, we share their glory. Ours is to do exploits and add to their gain. So those who come after will take up the story. So clearly, I'm of the conviction that you can do it all. Others have done, they couldn't do it all. You come do a bit, and then somebody else will have to come and take over and continue. So that's yes. So I believe that 3 terms would have been good enough to leave some mark, so that some people can come and take over and run it.
In the absence of Efia Kwanta, what is the mark that you've left in secondary?
Well, there's several projects. You see, I granted an interview to Bolare some time back, right? And I cited some stuff that I became a laughing stock, but people didn't understand me. Look, there are things that are mundane: roads, schools, chip compounds, astroturfs, whatever. Everybody does it, right? Everybody does it. There are projects, they are developed, they impact people. They like it or not. But I don't think they are signature. You get what I mean? And so, yeah. Of course, you hear the NDC people going around holding football tournaments on the astroturfs that we've done in second year. So, Mercer he hasn't. They go and hold meetings in the community center in Gotompo. What's there? They say, no man, MP hasn't done anything. No, they are sitting in the facility that true instrumentality is being called. So those things are there. But I think that secondary market would have been huge, a signature. Efia Kwanta certainly is a huge signature for myself and government. And so that's it.
Apart from apart from your loss, which of your colleagues' loss shocked you the most?
If Yekuma shocked me, Takwan Suyayim also shocked me. I knew that the independent candidate was going to pose a problem for Miriku, but I didn't think that he could lose Takwa. And of course, I was thinking Catherine had made a good showing; she was going to reclaim the seat, but
She also lost.
Yeah, she did.
I mean, looking at the numbers you've lost, your party's lost, and even the experience leaving Parliament, because some had actually indicated their, decision not to return. Others have lost in their primaries. Same happened in the NDC. Others had lost in their primaries. How do you think this the 9th Parliament is going to be like?
It's going to be an interesting one, with an absolute majority that the NDC has. Yeah, what it means is that they'll be able to execute their programs and policies without any hindrance, if you like, just like we were in a position to do in the 7th Parliament, where we had 169 and they had, relatively
106.
Yeah. So I'm glad that even though some experienced hands are leaving, Sechimeza Bonsu is a colossus, Joe Osewusu, Joe Gatti, Dan Buche,
Obiamwa.
Obiamwa. All of them are not coming back, of course, on their own accord. And some of the younger, if you like, ones I've also lost. Because if I had won, it would be my third term in Parliament. But thankfully, Afenyo and Ano and Patrick Boama and co, I'm sure, can take over, the mantle. Kujo Nkrumah can take over the mantle and hold the NDC to account. At least we'll have our say.
Yes, because of recent news, I just quickly want to ask how the statue of the president is doing.
I don't know why that even became an issue. Well, maybe, if you like, because the roundabout in which it was setting itself had not been complete. And I was of the view that the statue itself could have been delayed until at least that was done. Yeah, but my understanding was that there may not have been another opportunity for the president to come to Takrady before he left office. And so whilst he had come to do a thank you tour and had met the chiefs and people in the region, he should unveil it, as some commemorative honor that the Western region was doing for him. But it's okay to commemorate our leaders with statues and street names and all that. So I really don't see what the big deal really was. It's unfortunate some people try to damage it. But I saw on the news outlets that it's been fixed. And, hopefully it gets to stay so that at least we can appreciate the work that His Excellency the President has done for our country and the region going forward.
Great. Which means will bring us to the end of the conversation.
But I'm not sure are you going 2028?
I don't know yet.
On principle, no.
Yes.
But when it comes to...
Because like I said, already I've received numerous phone calls that, hey, don't say you are not going to contest again. Don't. If you ask me for my own personal opinion. But I recognize that, yes, you work with people. You work in a corporate organization. It is not only your interest or your principle that should matter all the time. So... But it's early days yet. We'll still engage.
Looking at this parliament, as in the next parliament, where people call your group minor minority, are you happy that you're not part, or you will not be part of the minor minority?
I don't know what minor minority means.
Micro minority.
You're a minority, you're a minority. It would have been exciting to be part of it, though. No doubt. Yeah. But like I said, I'm sure that even the new crop of MPs who will come in will be up to task, and they will do the work that some of us would have happily done if we were there. And I know that they would do well. Going through an election in itself is not an easy task. You come into Parliament. Yes, some people pick up fast, some pick up slow. Unfortunately, some don't pick up at all. But I think that I know a few of them. Tony May and co. I expect that they will be up to task, and they will deliver for the party.
Who should be minority leader?
Oh, that's not for me to say.
I've heard Joe say saying, "Oh, this person will be a good minority leader." Who should be minority leader?
It's not for me to say, but I think that the party leadership, working with the MPs themselves, would be able to select people who will be able to do the work, and represent the party in opposition quite well. I mean, I've heard some speculation of people who are interested. All of them are my friends. And so it's not for me to come and sit here and announce my preference, because it really is not my place anyway. I've heard Honorable John Sewusu's opinion. He is a senior man. We are little boys, so let the big boys express their opinion, and let we the little fishes, sit in our corner and observe. But I wish whoever emerges the leader of the group the very best should go and make us proud and make Ghana proud.
Thank you very much, Andrew Egyapa, Mercer, Member of Parliament for 2nd E, outgoing, and also outgoing Minister for Tourism, Arts.
He
and
will
Culture.
be missed. You will be missed.
I will still be around.
We hopefully we will fight.
No. I will still be around.